These days, spoken communication and social media have many shared overlapping conduits as a result of the progress of technological development. Before telephony, spoken communication needed to be done literally within shouting distance, and therefore usually with visual cues available. Social media used to only be available as a communication of typed messages, and yet now can also be a connection of audio and visual presence between addressor and addressee. Out of the many overlapping and various configurations of visual, text, audio and number of immediate communication participants, we will be discussing how conversations are opened and closed in two specific non-visual communication media. This discussion will only consider dialogical communication between two single people. Spoken interaction will be treated from the point of view of a one-to-one phone conversation as a technical and unbroken connection between two people. Social media will be treated from the point of view of a non-visual text conversation within an asynchronous network connection between two people. That is a DM or direct message conversation. In conversation analysis, the start and end of these conversations are described as openings and closings. With a phone call, the recipient is usually interrupted while they are doing something else. They are usually not waiting by the phone, and so the initiation of a conversation by another party requires some form of agreed acceptance that the interruption is the fault of the caller. On the other hand, a person waiting for a social media communication has made themselves available for interruption, meaning that an interruption is already welcome and no apology for interrupting them is therefore necessary. This has blurred somewhat in the last 20 years in that people are expected to be available for a phone conversation, since they are now expected to keep their conversation devices charged and turned on any time of the day, whereas if they were not physically near a telephone in the past, they were not expected to be immediately available for interruption and conversation. When leaving a conversation on the telephone, the party that wishes to disengage must either beg the other for acceptance to leave or rudely announce their departure from the conversation. Both of those are dispreferred methods of communication. Online, the idea of hanging up is not considered socially or psychologically rude because attention to a conversation is not already socially guaranteed, and also the person being interrupted was not really being interrupted because they'd already made themselves available. And there is an albeit system-generated message to the other party that the conversation has finished. It isn't considered as rude as a hung-up telephone call without announcement, and this is by way of social construction. The question for discussion is this: if someone leaves an online chat with you without saying goodbye, that is, you get M has left the chat unexpectedly, do you feel more or less offended than if somebody hung up a phone conversation with you without announcing it? Discuss.